Let me say, it's really great to have you all here. My name is James from Raisley, and if this is your first time joining us on one of the webinars, a really warm welcome. I'm hoping 10 o'clock on your Thursday morning has been a great space. I hope you have a coffee. I hope this morning hasn't been too stressful for you. And I'm really hoping that this time together will give you some incredible insights to making your fundraising go further for the end of year. Now, like all of our webinars, we've got a couple of typical housekeeping stuff. First of all, if you are on this webinar, I would love to know about it. You can use the chat function in Zoom. Let us know your name, let us know where you're from, and let me know whether my sound is working. That would be brilliant. So if you could start sort of filling that up in the webinar chat, it's a really great way for us to see. Hey, Natasha from UNICEF, great to have you on board. Hey, Gemma from Grief Centre, thank you so much for coming. One of the best parts about doing these webinars is though we record them and our sort of Northern Hemisphere counterparts can watch later, these ones are really great for the AusPac market. So we will be sort of focusing a little bit on Australia, New Zealand and surroundings in this webinar as well. Everyone's coming on in. It's great that you are joining us. Thank you again for making your time. We know it's precious. We know you have a lot on, particularly in this period of the year. So make some time just to sort of come and listen and get some insights. I hope is going to be really beneficial for you. Now, as you're coming in, let me introduce myself. I'm James. I'm Head of Enablement at Raisley. That basically oversees our education, our onboarding, and also our professional services as well in Raisley. And I love doing this. This is a real joy that we at the core of it with Raisley really want you to be in the driver's seat on your digital fundraising. And so we're here to support and help you along this. So welcome to our webinar. Our webinar really is designed to help you get some information, understand the tools, and really practically take what you learn into Raisley and knowing how to do it. But we're not an island. Our webinars have an incredible support from our support team, post this as well, and also our incredible marketing team that will continue to give you some content. So we will be uploading this webinar that you can look at later on. That doesn't mean you can just tune off now. We'd love you to stay, ask questions and get involved. But it definitely means that we are here for you post this to bring out some of these ideas to make your campaign really successful this year. Now, like all of our webinars, one of the things we find really important at Raisley is to ensure that we acknowledge as Australians, the First Nations people of Australia. And I am working and living on the land of the EOY people and want to pay my respects to all elders past, present and emerging. So really thankful that we can be real partners in our First Nations in Australia in regards to understanding and empathising with their stories. Now, what are we going to be doing today? Well, we're going to be doing a whole bunch of stuff. At the core of it, we're focusing on end of financial year campaigns. Now, I have no idea where you are at in your campaign. I've caught up with so many, and I know it's people at various stages. Some are still in strategy. Some have already built it and putting their feet up and looking forward to Christmas. Some have not even started. And this webinar is for you. No matter where you're at, this is for you. One of the nice parts, anything that we're learning on the insights today, you're going to be taking, adjusting, improving, starting from fresh, wherever you're at with your campaign. So really great that you're with us. But we're going to go through a few things. I'm going to look at some trends and insights from some previous years, just to give us some interesting things to sort of float around our minds as well. And that's a really great thing that we can be doing at Raisley. I've seen so many fundraising campaigns go up, the tens of thousands of fundraising campaigns that go up every year. But then more exciting than that is I've called on a few friends, and these are incredible women in the non-for-profit space and the brand space. And they're going to be sharing some of their insights. So little videos from them that they generously prepared that we can have a look through, and then we can talk about some of the things that they've actually suggested and how you'd look at those and apply those within Raisley. So you're not just getting some strategy insights from these amazing leaders in their space, but you're also getting the tools on how to actually implement some of that in Raisley as well. One of my guests cannot make it, but I'll speak to that in just a moment. But the best thing is these insights will be available post-webinar as well. They've developed some a bit more lengthier content for us that you'll be able to see on our blog as well. So that'll be some great resource to be able to take in there. But after those sort of insights, it's going to get very practical as well. But at the end of it, I just want to share some quick, easy wins. These are really coming from Raisley's professional service built by Raisley. We develop a lot of campaigns, and there are some things that I see all the time, and I think you will really benefit on seeing some of the really quick, easy wins that you can just get away with as well. So that's where we're going to be going. Lastly, just before we sort of tuck into it, do know there is space for questions. First of all, you can use the Q&A function in Zoom. That's going to really help you because we have Helga and we've got Georgie who are already online from Raisley, and they're here to answer your questions as well as me. So if you have questions during the time, and if I keep talking and I can't get to them, they're going to be answering those questions. So please use the Q&A time. But we are going to have a space at the end where I'm just going to open up to desire Q&As and we can go through that. Hopefully we'll finish at 10:45. I always go over. So if you do want to stay a little bit longer and ask some more questions, you are more than welcome. But why don't we dive in and let's have a bit of a squeeze at what we're doing. All right, now I can breathe. Super. Firstly, if you're new to Raisley, well, welcome. Most of our webinars, we have an incredible bunch of existing customers come, but many people that come to our webinars are brand new to Raisley, trying to test it out. If you don't know what Raisley is, that is completely fine. First of all, create a free account. You can explore Raisley yourself. Or our great team can give you wonderful demonstrations around it. But at the core of it, Raisley is your all-in-one fundraising platform, from appeals, peer-to-peers, community hubs, websites. At the core of it, optimizing the experience for your donors and your fundraisers. It gives you some incredible campaign websites that you can be developing out to launch your appeals or peer-to-peers, but also the function for email marketing, and also an incredible support management tool, which helps you manage all of your donors and your fundraisers through their fundraising journey with you. So do check out Raisley if you're new, but it's great that you could join us on that. All right, so where are we going? Trends. Let's have a look at a few different things. We pulled some data over the last week, and we're still sort of mining it a little bit more, but there's some interesting things I'll share, and we'll sort of refine this probably a little bit when we launch out our blog for you guys in the coming week. But trends are really important for us at Raisley. We see so many, tens of thousands of campaigns every year from all over the globe. And those insights from the data we capture are just brilliant to be sharing with you so that you can make more informed decisions around your campaign. We want you to grow. We know that online giving is the biggest revenue growth opportunity for charities. And as I said, we have such a unique, broad perspective on this, but we're hoping that it really sort of helps you on some things as well. So let me sort of dive into a couple of the interesting things that we've found. Now, these insights were taken sort of from 2020 to 2023, some more particularly around 2021, 2023, main reason COVID, that sort of threw a whole bunch of things up in the air. And we're looking at sort of like campaign totals by month and average donations, donation amounts at particular times as well. And really looking to focus in on the sort of 8 to 6 week period of the beginning of November or mid-November up to the very end of December. And we do this typically by weeks. So we're looking at sort of week 45 up to week 52. Now, what's been really interesting from seeing that, and probably not surprising for you, but just what I think is good to be thinking through what this means for you, is that for the last 3 years, we've seen pretty much a steady growth and a predictive pattern that happens between week sort of 48 and week 52 of a growth trajectory going up and up and up on the amount that people will donate. So the average amount that is taken from all of your donations through. What we saw within Australia is that the highest amount, which peaked out roughly at the sort of Christmas Eve, around Christmas sort of day, was around $114 on average. That's the average donation amount. Whereas back 6 weeks prior in mid-November, it was 84. So you're seeing sort of a 33% increase. over that time of donation amounts growing, of people's willingness to give more the closer it got over to Christmas. What was fascinating was to see that in New Zealand, it was a 93% growth. It went from like $49 up to like 88, I think it was, in that. But we saw a 93% growth in the New Zealand market last year. This is the last year's stats, right? So we're seeing these huge sort of little, like one, we're seeing a growth trend on the amount that people are willing to donate between mid-November to the end of December. And we also can sort of see that, like, yes, in Australia, it's still a high growth part, but in New Zealand, it was even higher. So what do you do with that? The first thing is you adjust your dollar handles week by week. That was probably one of the big insights that we can sort of take from this, is that most people can maybe set and forget their dollar handles and go, great, we've set up these dollar handles, we've got our wording to go with each of them, we've got our image to go with each, and our donation form's perfect. Where in fact, what you should look at possibly doing is updating your dollar handles to increase week by week, to be recognizing that the average trend is to give more and provide people options around that. And I think that is one thing that you can totally be doing within Raisley, is that you can be optimizing and changing your dollar amounts on your donation form week by week. One of the other things that was really interesting for us to have a look at was what's happening with Good Friday. Not Good Friday, Black Friday. Always getting so the holiday periods mixed up. What's happening with Black Friday? Now, the Black Friday sales are at the core of it a consumer trend that is pushing through. What they're seeing is that consumer spending is happening far more between the last 2 weeks of November than what used to be sort of the first 2 weeks of December. And if you're buying all your Christmas presents now more in November and capitalizing on those sales, it means that the whole idea, and we spoke about this in our last webinar, was that people, when they're consuming, they naturally maybe feel a deficiency in their generosity and are more likely to give over those sort of periods. What was really interesting is just looking at this trend, and it's there. We're seeing, particularly in Australia, that there is a trend, because one of the things we see is on the week post Black Friday, we're seeing a general drop in donations, around 20%, and then they start really ramping back up to what the point I was saying before on. And so there is a drop that comes out of Good Friday. So there's a peak to capitalize on, but there's also a drop just to be okay with, and to giving some resting space. And hopefully that's like an insight and some sort of interesting, informative part. Hopefully you can see the slides. Next slide. Is this next slide supposed to be visible? If people can't see the slides, do let me know. That would be fine to saw something in the chat there as well. But one of the things is that if we're seeing this little dip in Black Friday, two things. One, hit Black Friday, make sure you're launching or moving your campaign into that period around Black Friday. And secondly, account for the drop. Be okay with that, but know it's going to peak back up again the week prior. So thinking around your expectations and all that kind of stuff, I'm hoping that is helpful for you as well. The other one was, I found kind of interesting, where is in New Zealand in 2023, they saw their largest or highest donation average in the year at the Christmas period, not the tax time period. Now, I do understand that in New Zealand, the tax time period is much more flexible than, say, the Australian one, where you can do your one in sort of different times as well. But what this definitely showed is kind of to my little point on which Friday is totally Black Friday, not Good Friday, forgive me, is that at the end of the year, work harder than Santa on Christmas Eve. Sometimes in Australia, we can sort of sit back and think, oh, we can sort of chill back, we've got it all set up, and we can wind up to our holidays. And one of the things is like, don't. Make sure there's something, whether it's automated or it's a person, managing the campaign up until Christmas Eve and Christmas Day. Really invest in that period, because there's a lot of high traffic coming through that, and the average donation amount is higher as well. So there's great opportunities really around when Santa is doing his thing. So a big encouragement is to look at those insights as well. So hopefully that helps. And those insights might just bring some sort of have a little information that you guys can be sort of chewing over and mulling over as we sort of look. So hopefully that helps. And there's some of the insights. Coming back so you can sort of see a face rather than a slide so you know what's going on. There was one question from Craig, is what if you're using intelligent dollar handles? Will they increase automatically? No. I mean, we'll talk about intelligent dollar amounts because they are an incredible tool. And we and as I said, that's the tool that's going to get more sophisticated. We'll talk about it in a little moment. But there is a part where looking at a tag team concept, intelligent amounts is great to sort of find some benchmarking early, quickly, and figuring out some testing. But being in the driver's seat of your dollar amounts is really relatively wise to do. So bit of both is what I'll encourage you to do. All right, so there's some insights. Hopefully they're helpful. We'll release some more over the coming week, so you guys can be seeing those down there and how we actually got those too. Ingrid writes, what are the giving trends in that week between Christmas and New Year? Do people still donate after summer? Yeah, it typically drops. That's classic what we find. It drops relatively significant, but we'll sort of give you some data insights around that. Our focus really was what the effort you're going to need to put in toward Christmas, because we knew that the drop happens. What's even more interesting is where's the next spike, and the next spike is typically earlier than you think, toward end of January into February. So there's some stuff to come out, and we'll let you know more about that. All right, for the sake of time, I'm going to get into this little section here. Now, these are some of our insights. I've got three incredible people that are going to be contributing. Unfortunately, one isn't going to contribute in this webinar, but will in the blog space, which I'm really excited about. But let me quickly introduce Ophelie Letchat, Customer Success Lead for ntegrity, which is an incredible strategy, not-for-profit strategy agency down in Melbourne. They service some incredible clients around the world and are really, really highly respected in their space. Ophelie I've known from coaching sessions with her. She is not only so full of wisdom and so incredible in her space, but she's just a delightful human being. So really thankful that she can be speaking about that as well. Totally, let me change that out. No one will see my face. Thank you for that, Georgie. So that's Ophelie. Next is Amanda Gordon, Head of Strategy for the People. She'll be contributing to the blog content, which I'm really excited about hearing from Amanda. She is an exceptional strategist and working for probably one of the best agencies in the world. So really excited about Amanda joining that. And then Chelsea Beech, who is one of my local heroes for me being in Newcastle. Her and her husband Eamon run a not-for-profit agency supporting not-for-profits in brand strategy and also some sort of campaign strategy as well. And she's got some incredible, great insights into how your brand can be working too. So I'm so thankful for these amazing women. They are not only so wise in what they're contributing to, and I learned so much from them, but they're just wonderful human beings. And we love that in the non-for-profit space. They're people that are really for the purpose in which they're doing their work. So I'm going to hand it over to Ophelie to start with. And hopefully you can hear, and again, I'll be sharing these little videos, but we'll walk a bit through this, but let's hear from Ophelie. Oh, the sound's not working. Come through. Hang on, I'm just going to quickly switch my sound so it's a little bit different. Won't be a sec. No, that's still not working. Oh, how good is sound? Let me just find my system settings. Won't be a sec. Output. MacBook Pro speakers. Wonderful. Let's see if this now works. And I can switch this back to, won't be a sec. Microphone. All right, let's try that.
Hi, I'm Ophelie Letchat, and I'm the Client Success Lead at ntegrity. My #1 tip for a great Christmas campaign is to segment out your messaging and segment out your audiences. At Christmas time, it's very common to run a DM appeal that's going to reach mostly existing donors, as well as a digital appeal that's either going to reach those existing donors through digital channels, or that's going to expand your audience out to first-time donors. Now, we know that digital is the fastest growing channel for new donor acquisition, but the reality is the message that goes into your DM is not always what's going to resonate with first-time donors. So in order to reach those new donors, we like to create a micro campaign. So something that's going to have targeted messaging, targeted creative. It might have a completely different look and feel to the DM, but it's really focused on those first-time donors. And in order to do that, you can spin up those micro campaigns, for example, with digital assets, digital creative, and linking to a Raisely page. And that way you can actually run multiple micro appeals, testing out your messaging, testing out your audiences, and be very nimble in that way while making sure that your primary messaging in your DM appeal reaches your existing donors and maximizes results that way.
Awesome. Now, please, someone, just give me the thumbs up in the chat on whether you heard that and got that insight. That would be really, really helpful on my end, because I want to sort of cover it again too. Got it? Yeah, thank you guys. Awesome. So one of the interesting things that Ophelie's brought up is the concept of using microsites predominantly to target new audiences and new donors that you may not know too much about. And so some of the things I love from Ophelie, she said, my top tip for a successful influential campaign is to segment your messages and audiences by creating microsites with targeted messages and creative. For first-time donors, you can maximize your results. Now, I'm not sure if this is a practice that you guys are leaning into. My hope is that it is a practice you're leaning into. There is so much advantage on creating personalized landing pages that are streamed out from your email base or from your social media base that are going to be targeting the exact story that they've already engaged with in regards to that post. Understanding the audience's traction around your social media or around your email and what content was in there, and then landing on a page that's personalized, that's for me, that I can even sort of do some testing around to work out really what's landing. That is just a different experience than maybe what I go out to my email base on that. So how on earth would you do that in Raisely? Well, there's all sorts of ways you can do that in Raisely. Now, the first sort of core part in Raisely, which I love to bits, is if I'm just going to get my camera off, is within Raisely, you can create as many campaigns as you like. There's no limit to these. So what we sometimes find is people spit up numerous campaigns within Raisely, and each of those campaigns is targeting a particular EDM or a particular social media campaign that you're running through that. That's one way to do it. I don't think it's the best way to do it though. What the best way to do is that within your campaign, and you go into pages, you can create as many pages as you like in here. So one of the things that we're seeing that's far more common practice is for people to be basically spitting up a whole bunch of landing pages within the same campaign. But each of those landing pages, yes, has a different URL, or is controlled at times, maybe even on, definitely has a different URL. But you are sending people to that page to land on that's personalized. It's got a quick donation ask, pushing for conversion and around the right space. So creating different landing pages can be a great way of just quickly controlling what people are going to experience and having those links change within basically the differing links that you have within your social media. Now, this may be normal practice for you, but one of the interesting things we don't see people do it enough. We're working with an incredible organization at the moment over in New Zealand, and they're spinning up like 18 different landing pages for their social media. Most people landing sort of 2, maybe 3, if that. And you've got 18 different ones around different stories. Typically, over the time of your appeal, they get smaller over. They may like be not used because you're trying to test it as you go. The other way to do it as well is that if you say go to, let's take like a really basic example of a campaign. say this is your campaign, right? This is as simple as it gets, and interesting that these actually convert really well. But here you've got some simple messaging, you've got some dollar handles, you've got how much we're raising for the impact, and you've got a little section of questions, which I always recommend. This is as clean as simple as it gets. But the nice part, instead of maybe utilizing different pages, you could utilize, which each have a different URL, you could utilize query strings. So you can do things like utilizing your UTMs to have a different change-up experience based on your campaign name within the UTM. Those things can change within Razely as much as what dollar amounts are shown, what copy does appear, what images you may be using. And an investment in creating great landing pages that can quickly convert and you can test is really, really great. I mean, what's a UTM? That's a great question. So a UTM is basically a little query at the end of your URL, which enables you to track, typically via Google Analytics, where someone came from when they landed on your website. So a little bit like, say, if you were posting a letter and you received a letter in the mailbox, and someone on the back of that letter wrote their sender address. They wrote their name, where they're from. It's kind of the digital version of that, really. We can know where people came from. And so if they came from a social media post, we can capture in the UTM and go, great, we know that they came from that social media post, and therefore we can make adjustments on here as well. But learning the art of creating landing pages that are personalized is really great. Now, you may be going, oh, this is so overwhelming. How on earth would I do this? Well, let me start super simple. One of the things you can do within Razely is just do a clean A/B test. You can create two different home pages, completely different, all right? Similar brand, similar look and feel, but two different home pages. If you use a app like VMO, which is probably the leading, is VMO.com, I'm pretty sure it is one of the leading A/B testing products. And it is so intuitive to use. You basically just say, great, to 50% of my audience who land on this URL, send them to this page, and the other ones, send them to this page. What that gives you the ability to do is run some quick insights after a day or after a week of going, all right, which page converted better? And then from that, you can be thinking through that. So things like that to do early on and in particular times within your campaign can be really, really, really fruitful. And A/B testing doesn't have to be hard. Utilizing a third-party app like VMO can be so, so helpful and easy. It's just two pages, slightly differently, A/B test them 50-50. So a big encouragement to look at that, and we'll make sure we show you some more examples of what that can sort of look like through there as well. So take Ophelie's advice. Look at, for your new donors, engaging with them in varied experiences to work out what's actually working. Create some microsites, and we can't wait to show you more on how to do that as well. All right, so I'm going to get back into it because we've got lots to sort of go through. And this is what actually, let's apply that. Yeah, create core landing pages, use intelligent amounts, which is one of the interesting things we've got on this. If you want to A/B test a few things, particularly your dollar handles, within Razely, you can leverage intelligent amounts. Just go to settings in your campaign, donation form. And here you've got this option called intelligent donation amounts. If I turn this on, it means that Razely's in the driver's seat. All of our analytics and our data is going to inform what comes up on your donation form. Really interesting to try out. Just try it out. Have a look. Typically, the amounts we're seeing convert are doing very, very well. So which is exciting. And so we're really looking forward. Georgie's put the link onto more about intelligent amounts. But a huge recommendation on this is to leave it on in your first few days or weeks. It's going to give you a quick snapshot of where your median is sitting. If you then want to jump in the driver's seat, jump on in there, put the different dollar amounts you want in there, and work on through this. It is interestingly pushing a little bit against the concept of utilizing the classic old dollar handles. And I think personally that's a good thing. Dollar handles where you have a whole description and image and you're trying to connect the dollar handle amount. They can be good, but they've got to be so strategically spot on to really be effective. Most people's ones are too generic and they can't maybe change that. So intelligence amounts, big fan, worth applying. And as I said earlier, change your amounts over time. But thank you, Ophelie, for that incredible insight. And we're going to move on to the next one, which comes from Chelsea. So why don't we tune in and we'll see what Chelsea has for us as well.
How do your donors feel when they lift your branded envelope out of their letterbox? Is there a sense of joy and anticipation? Are they looking forward to reading your latest appeal letter? Or is the emotion more along the lines of receiving their latest rates notice, an obligation? Our letters tend to be quite formulaic and pointed, with the singular purpose to raise funds. Now, of course, raising funds is critical, but what if it could be less of a chore? What if you could make reading your letters and emails a more deeply engaging experience? Supporters are bombarded with appeals from organisations all worthy of their donation. And a good brand has already answered the question, why should I choose you? Before the donor receives the letter. Campaigns that stem out of a strong brand position are the ones that will win out in the end. They're not catching supporters unawares. Rather, the supporter already feels like such an integral part of the organisation that the request to contribute financially seems natural. If you haven't first done the work to clarify, articulate, and build a strong brand, you are limiting the potential of your appeals. Now, this work happens slowly over time. Every interaction.
And pause it there just to let it sort of speed up and catch up. But I hope some of the things you're hearing at the moment that have come through on this is already leveraging from your brand and what your existing donors are doing around your campaign, which is the real differentiation between what Chelsea's talking about and what Ophelie is talking about, with a different focus and a really necessary focus at end of financial year.
And every touch point. When the tone is too transactional, we risk oversimplifying the significance and misbuilding deep heart-level connections. It may generate income in the short term, but it keeps you on this hamster wheel of superficial giving. People give because they are invested in the purpose. So use your appeal to help the reader feel like an interconnected part of the impact. Don't skip over core messaging in an effort to make a quick transaction. And don't forget that your appeal shouldn't exist in isolation. It should be building from and back in.
This is one of the points I love the most that she articulates in this. And again, I'm so sorry for the sort of delay. I'm sure it's my internet for some reason, but the concept where we're building into something and coming from something. And I think that's one of the things that Chelsea is so good at understanding on the donor journey of how are you preparing that for what the next step is for your donors as well.
The broader brand experience. And all departments should be aligned around one single message. So this year, let's stop filling inboxes and letterboxes with boring transactional letters, and let's instead create meaningful experiences for our donors that will go beyond June 30. Stop to think about the person who's taking your letter from their mailbox at the end of a busy day and make them glad that they opened your letter. I'm Chelsea from Beech Agency. We work with organisations to help them maximise their impact.
Chelsea, you're a dead set legend. What is Chelsea talking about on here? And one of the summaries is that by meeting your donors with their pre-existing connection to your brand, rather than simply an ask, builds that connection with you and your cause. And this proximity is going to result in growth. This is super exciting and at times neglected, where you're offering everyone the same experience. And so your existing donors who already feel connected with you feel that they're in the generic pool. And so what she's speaking about is, how do you target them so they're not in the generic pool? So that their connection with your brand is already something that you're starting from, not sort of reinterpreting, and which is the same that you'll do for your regular donors. With an insight like this, one of the things we need to be thinking through is, how do you possibly do this? Now, probably at the core of it, it's segmentation. It's understanding what your donor base is currently and how you may want to treat people differently in regards to those as well. So first, segmentation of understanding. But once you have regular donors, they know your brand, they trust your brand, they're with you, they've already donated, they've already fundraised, they've already become part of your community. So one of the things that's really important is ensure that your visual brand is consistent and make your message connected. How do you make, so one of the things that I love to just encourage you on with this, Raisley's message builder is unreal. And I want you to play with it. I want you to dive into Raisley's message builder. You can create some incredible EDM messages that are going to be great representations of your brand. And that's what Raisley is really here to help you with. We want your brand, your visual brand to come to life in Raisley so that your campaign's pretty? No. It's so that your campaign connects with those who are already connected to your brand. Ensuring that your messages, when they receive their donation receipt, which is the most common receipt that they're going to receive, it doesn't have the generic Raisley section up there. It has you on there. If you open this up, there is so much work you can be doing to this email to make it one of your best EDMs yet. Really simple, acknowledging who they are as an existing donor and helping them connect with your brand around what they've already connected with, as Chelsea was saying, engage in that pre-existing contact with them. One of the things I also recommend is spending time working on your header and footer. In your header and footer, with the new templates, we've made this even easier to now make sure that your footer and your header for every one of your campaign matches your brand experience, which is typically from your website. Work on those first. It's the very first thing that we ever do when we're doing work in our professional services in Raisley, is make sure that the header and footer replicate what you're coming into the website. It builds that trust, that reputation that you're wanting to leverage on. But take it further than that. One of the things that Chelsea has been encouraging us to look at, I keep on forgetting to turn my video off. Sorry for the demo with still me in there. One of the things that Chelsea is just encouraging us for is offer your donors are also your unique experience. Taking what Ophelie was saying before and utilizing certain pages, which is going to go out to your regular donors and not to new donors, and meet them where they're at, meet with them with that pre-existing connection that they have with you, and surprise them with a unique experience. One of the things I've always loved is that I don't mind getting direct mail, but I do mind getting direct mail that asks me to read a lot, and I mind if it looks plain Jane. What's the experience they're getting in their direct mail that has a great, good graphically QR code that I can be like, oh, right, my main experience is going to be digital from this mail. Let me scan, what's my digital experience? That may mean that you can reduce your costs in your mail outs. It may mean that you do your mail outs very differently. But looking through a letter, can we do better than that? If really what we maybe wanted to introduce them to is a particular experience just for them with a QR code. So really want you to work out how to lean into that, and we are here to help with that as well. So there's some really great insights from two incredible leads on that, and we're looking forward to showing you a little bit more around how that works too.
Hi, I'm Ophelie in the chat. And
Skip over that one. All right, so hopefully you've had a bunch of questions and some things wrapping around your head at the moment too. But I want to throw in there some really quick, easy wins for you as you approach your end of financial year campaign. These easy wins, especially for your appeals, are just easy things to get right every time. So let's have a look at them. Number one, please compress. Thanks, Helga. Please compress your images. Compress your images, compress your images, compress your images. There's some, what we see often is people are uploading huge files. And yes, Raisley is very nice that the actual platform does compress your images to some point. But you can do more than that. So just so you know, on all of our Built by Raisley projects, we use a website called TinyPNG. The free account, I can convert images and using WebP format. This will shrink your JPEGs down so much. So the two things I'd encourage you to do with all your images. Firstly, resize your images down to UHD or HD. That's 2560 by 1440 or 1920 by 1080, right? UHD or HD resolution. Size them down. Make sure they're not 300 DPI. Make sure they're 72 DPI. Just resize your images first off, and then put them into here. Put them, upload them, convert them into WEPs. You can do 3 of these conversions for free, and then you just refresh the page and you do another 3 and you refresh the page. If you do it all the time like we do, just sign up for an account with them. But a really quick, easy tool just to compress your images. It means that your load time is going to be super quick, super snappy, and people love and respect that when you're working through these. Second one, ask your donors twice. Some of the times with a campaign, you go, great, our donors gave. Awesome. Ask them again. Donors don't mind asking again, particularly if the trend moves up from your appeal. That generates excitement. Maybe there were more donors and more impact happening 2 weeks after that they've donated. Introduce them to that impact and don't be shy to ask again. But even more, maybe look at the second ask as a strategic ask to share this campaign and share impact. Around that time of year, so many people are looking to give. One of the best ways for them to think through that is having a friend encourage them to possibly give to something that you have. Ask your donors twice and develop a email posting thing that can do that for you too. And lastly, use personalization with the URL. Now, this last one, personalization with the URL, is a whole can of worms. It's like a can of worms because it feels so inaccessible when you first start. You're like, oh my gosh, there's like question marks and ampersands and different data points I'm picking on, and it can feel a little bit intimidating, and I totally get that. We're here to help. So first off, there's a great YouTube series. If you want to go to YouTube and deal with me more, there's a great series on personalization, 4 parts that takes you through the whole process. And I'd encourage you to look at that because personalization through URL query strings is where it's at. But let me quickly explain one for you. And we'll come back to the easy one. Here, you can add data into your URL. All right, so your URL there, you can put data in that URL that you can then use to do different things on your page, which is exciting. So you can add data into your URL through queries. So a query is question mark, which introduce queries at the end of the URL, and then it's an attribute equals a value. So that could be name equals James. It could be postcode equals 2000. It's a question mark, introduces the query in the URL, and then you can put an attribute and a value, and suddenly you've got a piece of data in your URL. Now, with your URLs, they're the things that people are clicking. So you think first of all, where are people clicking? They're clicking on social media. They're clicking on my email buttons. They're the primary things. It may even be behind a QR code that you may have on a poster. So you may, so one of the interesting ones is your QR code. You may have posters at different locations. You may have different URLs linked to those to those QR codes that have different queries in them to capture different data, such as location. Because you have that, you could use that data. So let me walk through a really basic example of using a UTM campaign to demonstrate. Now, as earlier, if you're used to UTMs, you'll know what a UTM campaign is. But in social media, you can utilize UTMs, which will mean that when you look at your Google Analytics, you can understand where someone came from. Typically with UTMs, it's with email marketing and social media marketing. One of the primary ones is UTM_campaign. This is kind of what you're, so if you're running an email campaign, you're giving it the email campaign's name, which so might be like EDM_204 or something like that. This is a great way. So what you can be doing is if you create in Razorly, there we go, in here. This here is one row in Razorly. It's all just one row sitting in there. So if I go back into Razorly and go to, oh, not that one, and go to pages and go to my home page, you can see this is all just one row. All right? What I can simply do is I can copy that row and paste another one that's identical. Now what I can do is I can work on this one for one experience and I can work on this one for another experience. Then all I need to do is I go back to my query and I copy this value here. Hashtag equals. The equals is what type of condition it is. The next little bit, it says, look at the data in the URL. So query means it's going to look up into the query string in the URL. And what it is looking for in the purple is the attribute that you're using. And in this case, it's UTM_campaign. And then in little apostrophes is the value associated with that. So typically, if you are running an email campaign and on the link that says donate here, you are putting into that link, here's the URL for the campaign, UTM_campaign equals EDM 304. Because that's in the URL now when someone lands on that page, you can then paste this in here with the name associated into your advanced attributes custom class. So here you're just typing hashtag equals query.UTM_campaign space, and it might be EDM 203. And then close the brackets, show, because if it equals that, I want to show it. If it doesn't equal that, you put an else statement in and hide. Close off the condition and you're done. What this will now do is if I go to this page and it has in the URL UTM_campaign equals EDM 203, that it's going to show this row and it won't show this row. This kind of personalization is brilliant. So I'd really suggest, this may have just floored you and be like, what is this crazy lingo going on? How on earth am I expected to do that? What I'd encourage you to do is duck over to our support guides. They are there to help you. Duck on YouTube. We are really keen to help you understand how you could possibly do this. And I've done this a lot, right? So I'm not assuming that it's easy to start with. It can be head turning to start with, but we're here to help you do it. What it gives you the two insights that we've been looking at today. Ophelie's wonderful wisdom on making sure you are targeting new donors with unique experiences and running A/B tests to do that. It targets Chelsea's wisdom on looking at how your brand can create a unique experience for your existing donors to already mandate that connection they have with you. And how you do that in Raisley. Raisley's so flexible to achieve the needs that you want to be doing, and we are here to help you do it. So I hope that has been some incredible insights and some helpful little tools and tips to help you with your end of financial year campaign. For many of you, it may have scratched the surface. For many of you, you may be freaking out and being like, what do we do? We're here to help. So please reach out to support@raisley.com. And we're here to help you achieve some great things this year in your campaign. I want to pause for a second. If anyone has any questions, I'd love you to put that in the chat now. That would be great. But I am seeing that Georgie and Helga have been hard at work today in the webinar chat, answering some questions and directing you to some of the support available there. Oh, Tammy, a pleasure. Always great to see you come on into the webinar. So thank you, Tammy. One of the things is this will be recorded, so you can go back over this. There are more resources coming out relating particularly to this webinar as well to help you be supporting. We'll be showing you and demoing some examples around what this looks like in real life or real life campaigns. But we really hope that you can reach out. Some of the best ways to get support moving forward in Raisley is reach out to support@raisley.com. Our customer success team are there to help and engage with you to make your campaign successful this year. Also, I really encourage you to head to our YouTube channel. There's all sorts of random content and more content coming up. So a great place to go just to find some video content there as well. If you're looking for support guides, you can go to support.raisley.com, and that website will have a lot of our support guides as well. And go to our website to find previous webinars too. If you're really keen, I think I'd love you to have a look at is check out school.raisley.com, where you can, if you're new to Raisley, you can find a great place to start with the first course available in beta at the moment. But if you're an old hat with Raisley, it's also there for you too, with new courses coming out each week from now. So please go to school.raisley.com, sign up and do one of the courses. Let us know. We're really keen to understand how we can educate and help and support you better. Until next time, which there will be next time, I'm thinking that our actually next webinar in a month's time is all going to be showcasing the incredible campaigns that have been launching this year. But I'd love you to get on with your day, get back to the work you're doing. Happy Thursday. And we really look forward to engaging with you over the next week or so as you build with Raisley. Have a great day, everyone. We'll speak soon. A pleasure, Stefan. No worries. Thanks, Petita. Thanks, Jessica. Thanks, Holly, for jumping on. Thanks, Jenny. Really great to have you. All right.